Netflix isn't as good as it used to be. Netflix lived on a bubble for a long time of using other networks' content. Now that all the other places have their own platform, they took it all back: Peacock, HBO, Showtime, not to mention all the other streaming services now bidding for the same shows. I think Netflix dominates. Streaming time is limited. I personally watch it less than any other, and it's the most expensive. They also don't give shows a chance to grow. They cancel after one season if it doesn't blow up instantly like Stranger Things did. So people get invested, and now they have all of these unfinished shows and frustrated people. When I ask for Netflix show recs, I have to specify that I only want the finished ones. I agree. I really used to enjoy watching things on Netflix. Now, not so much. I know it sounds like a first world problem, but sometimes it almost feels like a chore finding something to watch. I also hate how they got rid of the comments section. That's how I used to judge a movie before I watched it. Especially with total drama. They used to have all seasons, but now they only have 1, 5, and 7. They randomly remove stuff, only have certain seasons, and have sequels but not originals. Netflix used to be great because they were the only platform that offered a substantial range of things with some originals. Now there's multiple platforms and a really high volume of content being produced. Sometimes having too much can devalue the quality of the experience. That's my take on it anyway. I don't think this is really unpopular. Netflix is really lacking new stuff. Not their original content, but like new movies that have come out in theaters. Well, not this year, but you know what I mean. Those movies, after the first couple of months, usually go to normal cable streaming sites like HBO or Showtime or something, and Netflix never seems to get them, or will get like one of them and that's it. It definitely feels like their content has gotten stale. Agreed. I think Netflix are pumping out so many shows nowadays, they are all of a lower quality, and often never get extended past 1/2 seasons. I would much prefer if they put more effort into less shows but made them much better quality and gave them more seasons. Well, Netflix used to have everything from everywhere, but then everyone and their mother made a streaming service and claimed all their copyrights. This made Netflix a lot leaner than the fatted calf it was when it was the undisputed streaming service. In order to stay competitive and bolster its offerings, they made some originals. Some of these are really good and others not so much. I agree Netflix isn't as strong as it was, but I can't really blame them. It's not like they have the power to claim content from Disney, CBS, or another network, and bidding on shows from other sources can be expensive. I would just scroll through a few for something I like or ask people what they've been watching lately. I suggest checking out Dark. I really enjoyed it. Obligatory rant about mind hunters. Pirate's life it is then. This is a popular option. I still like it. But I do like trash TV, anime, and bad horror movies, which seems to be in Netflix's wheelhouse. Now Netflix is like, okay, if we just put an awkward, out-of-place sex scene with titties within the first 10 minutes, we will have them hooked and it will make up for the bad plot, right? My problem with Netflix is that they took off so many shows but then started adding a lot of anime that is only available on their platform, 7 Deadly Sins and Violet Evergarden for example. However, I can easily just stream all of their anime elsewhere online for free. There really is no reason to have Netflix anymore. And don't even get me started on how awful it is to navigate their catalog. Half the stuff on there is hidden by their algorithm. There are entire categories of stuff on there I didn't even know they had until I read about them online. Netflix has way too many of their own originals. It takes so long to find something to watch on there tbh. Instead of watching, me and my brother spend the whole time trying to find something good lol. I think all of the services kind of suck. Amazon is probably the best because it has original content, new movies, and you can search and rent almost any movie through it. Netflix has some good original content, but it's mostly all B and C movies. I am done with subscribing to Disney to watch one show and stuff. I just signed up for HBO Max for Wonder Woman, and that was just okay. I am watching some of their shows, but will cancel soon. There needs to be a unifying service and this nonsense needs to stop. I felt like Netflix was headed down the toilet for a while. Then I got an email saying the price was going up, so I just said I'm out. Agreed. I have 4 streaming services, well, my family, we share passwords. What's gotten really aggravating is Netflix will come out with a decent show, Santa Clarita Diet, and on a cliffhanger, and then never finish the damn series. I saw someone else mention random seasons. WTF is with that? This show looks good, finish season 1, then skip forward 2 or 3 seasons and go, who the hell are all these new people? What did I miss? Oh hey BitTorrent, how you doing in 2020? Still around at? My Phil wanted Netflix for Christmas, so we invited him over and said if he could find 3 things he wanted to watch we'd get it for him. He really likes the slippers he got instead. I just get incredibly annoyed that different countries have different shows and movies and I can't pay for a VPN to change it to US. Australian Netflix is pretty crappy right now. Throw Black Mirror in the pile of great shows ruined by a Netflix budget, also cancelled my favorite show The Patriot Act. Unpopular opinion, or common consensus. This ain't unpopular. This opinion is very popular. A popular opinion or just a fact. It's just frustrating because you'll get into a show with 1 or 2 seasons, and then they'll cancel it without any way of finding out what happens. For example, The Society was so good. Only 1 season and they cancelled it after a cliffhanger finale, like so many other popular shows. I'm so tired of it, so I don't watch Netflix originals anymore because I don't want to waste my time. It's not an unpopular opinion. Some of it is down to you already having watched the big shows/movies, and being the wrong side of your honeymoon period of it being new. But the majority of it is just that they're facing more competition. Netflix had a monopoly. They were explicitly the number 1 and, almost, only service. Everyone else, Disney etc., wanted a piece of the money, so they all started rival companies. And got some. This degraded the service, and made you have to pay twice or more, for the same content. To combat losing so much content, they started to license their own shows. Which are hit and miss, at the absolute best. It's still good value though, but I'm in no doubt we will end up full circle with essentially a Wi-Fi version of cable. Netflix, so a guy gets enhanced with nanobots. Also Netflix, so a guy gets enhanced with a murderer AI. Netflix 2, so a girl is enhanced with genetics. Netflix again, have we ever made a movie about someone being enhanced? And be careful to say something about Stranger Things being repetitive or people will think you are dead crazy. Lots of competition for Netflix now, compared to even like 5 years ago. Prime Video was barely a thing back then. I used to watch Hulu in 2009 when it was completely free. Almost everyone knows and accepts that after a point, Netflix just started directing anything that came to them to production. It's unpopular because it's not acknowledged very often. Everyone fucking thinks this. Have to agree. While some of their shows are excellent, the range of movies has definitely gone down. There used to be a wide variety of movies and it seemed easier to stumble upon something I hadn't seen in a long time, or a random movie that turned out to be great. Now it's the same dozen big Hollywood movies filled out by a ton of B-movie sludge. And don't get me started on the absence of Futurama and other shows. I think we're finally seeing what I long worried would happen. Other streaming channels would come to the fore, the media options would be split apart, Disney, HBO Max, Hulu, and we'd essentially just be buying digital cable subscriptions. Netflix in my country is garbage. I miss Netflix unblocker add-ons that didn't require you to pay a monthly subscription. In my opinion, Netflix is shooting themselves in the foot by not bringing closer to some of their shows. I don't even watch shows if it's been cancelled. They would be better off pre-buying 3 seasons with an ending or closure than having 2 seasons and cancel. They are going after new customers but are not trying to build loyalty with their current subs. I find myself not even wanting to watch a show and getting invested just for Netflix to axe a show. Still has the least infuriating UI. Unlike Disney Plus, which seems to have taken Netflix and added the worst aspects of old Prime Video. They still have no commercials. I lost all hope when they removed Shrek. The star ratings need to come back, you can't tell what's good anymore. None of us are. Not unpopular. The new Queen's Gambit show is pretty nice. I prefer Hulu. To me, Netflix nowadays is just a collection of low-cost and little thought-out shows called Netflix Originals. You can say I'm biased, but I've always had a negative view on Netflix Originals. Almost all of them feel as if they were directed by AI and not humans. Or someone got paid to mass-produce a certain number of episodes they didn't really want to make. They lack the magical and creative feeling of greatest shows and movies. Plots get dragged on forever and with little substance. I can't count the number of times I've tried to finish Ozark in the past year but inevitably have had to stop because of extreme boredom. Yeah, well, that B3CAUSE streaming became the new television. Fun fact, the book 13 Reasons Why series is based on Only Go As Long as Season 1. I didn't watch Season 2 at all because it shouldn't even exist. When it comes to Disney stuff, blame Disney Plus. The same for the lack of Pixar, Marvel and poxy Star Wars, but Netflix has been shit for a while even before Disney Plus was announced. But I do blame Disney for the death of Daredevil on Netflix. The bastards, we finally get a good DD and Disney have to go and ruin it. It's so bad they cancel series after 1 season, like, come on. At least I get Netflix for free from T-Mobile, may not be worth it for people paying for it. Used to have a killer anime section, used to. I'd recommend checking out The Haunting of Hill House. Rose-tinted glasses. Netflix has more originals and movies out on the platform than ever. Queen's Gambit and The Witcher were one of the best additions to Netflix to date. When they used to have Young Justice, sad face. Umbrella Academy is the same thing. Season 1 was excellent, then Season 2 was the exact same plot but with a different time period. They'll put out the cheapest of all movies. It really sucks spending your weekend going from movie to movie only to find nothing most of the time. Waste of time and money. 85% of Netflix seems to be crime investigation shows and documentaries about criminals. Netflix used to be freaking amazing. Now we have 30 streaming services that are all okay. None of them are really worth the money except the ones that are deliberately tanking for now until they raise the price several times later, like Disney. We will end up paying more for streaming than we ever did for cable, especially because a lot of it isn't subsidized by ads, and we have to pay for separate internet, which by the way is also raping customers. I agree it was awesome when they were one of the first streaming services. They had all the content. Now with all the other streaming services it seems everything is divided now. Say that again after Season 3 of Cobra Kai and Season 2 of The Witcher. So true. They're literally removing all the good shows to make space for crappy originals like Riverdale. It's so annoying. No longer has Teen Titans or Spectacular Spider-Man. Yeah, Netflix sucks these days. It's because every network is making their own streaming services these days. Gave up Netflix almost a year ago when I saw the writing on the wall. I'm also not gonna fork over a bunch of money for each different streaming service when they usually only have a couple of good shows between the bunch of them. Just subscribe to a different one every month, man, fuck that. Making me do all that work and coming back to higher prices every single year. It's the cable industry all over again, just with extra steps and data overage charges from greedy monopolistic ISPs. Fly that beautiful black flag and sail into the night. Midnight Sky was awful. I don't think this is unpopular. Netflix fucking sucks. That's because Netflix became one of the networks they were trying to replace. Don't miss it, won't be resubbing again. The price increased and the quality decreased. I pay $60 a year for Shudder, absolutely worth it in my opinion. If Netflix were in that price range I'd sign up, but they'd never go that cheap. Yeah, Netflix switched their business model from streaming other networks' properties to becoming an in-house production company. And then every other network made their own streaming service. We basically just got back to cable, but this time online. The Pirate Bay is as good as it ever was, though. One area Netflix has greatly improved on is a better library of anime and Korean content. Now they have the classics and brand new popular shows. I agree, my continue watching has about 100 shows I couldn't get past the first 15 minutes. I don't think this is an unpopular opinion. When did this sub turn into very popular opinion? Netflix is temporary, rarbg.to is forever. Sometimes too much choice is actually a bad thing. Small analogy, but with video games. When I was a kid, I would play whatever game I had access to at the time and play it for hours and hours and take my time, etc. Now I have 270 plus games on Steam alone, and at any given time there are like 5 to 8 games I'd like to be playing. I spend more time scrolling through trying to figure out what I want to play than actually playing stuff. The dumbest part is once I get past that indecision, I feel like a kid playing the game again. Until I turn it off and go to pick what I want to play the next day, and the cycle starts all over. I wonder if Netflix is actually worse than it used to be. It's possible. A lot of streaming services are offering competition that didn't really exist prior, or if maybe people are just burnt out through choice, or whatever the situation I described above would be called. I think there's also a problem with oversaturation. Like others have said, it's literally exhausting to try to even find something to watch on Netflix. There are just so many shows, it's like overwhelming. Typical quality vs quantity. It's also incredibly frustrating to find a show you really do like and watch 3 seasons and wait like 2 years for the next one. This sub is legit just popular opinion now. This tends to happen when competitors launch their own streaming service and pull all their content so they can host it on their own service. I actually applaud Netflix for staying relevant and making their own originals. Not all of them are great, but at least they try. I'll be loyal to Netflix for the foreseeable future, as they've always been good to me, and they also just added Stargate SG-1, which I'm looking forward to. Imagine paying for a service that gives you ads, and then trying to shit on Netflix if you haven't even used it recently. Cancelled a long time ago and haven't regretted it. Then why do you bother commenting on every thread that mentions Netflix? LMAO, there are some crusty ass comments here. The Queen's Gambit was great, but as a whole I agree. Hulu is pretty good for old TV shows. Bring back Blockbuster. What do you think? This is 2016. Of course it's not as good as it used to be. How is this even remotely an unpopular opinion? This is a majority opinion, and dare I say there is enough objective evidence to call it a fact at this point. They've lost like 85% of their library in the past 10 years while nearly doubling their prices. The competition has erupted from Hulu, Prime, Disney, HBO, and a myriad of other services. Netflix has never had worse market share than today, they've never had a smaller selection than today, they have never had fewer licenses than today, they've never been more expensive than today. Unpopular opinion, my asshole.